Many of us during the holiday seasons, we start beginning to feel like a whole plethora of emotions, and they range from happiness and joy. A lot of us love the whole holiday, the lights and the Christmas songs, and so it's supposed to be a season of joy. But for many of us, it's a season. It can be very sad, very depressing, and we can go from this range of motion at any given point in time. And so one minute we may be out and about doing our Christmas shopping, getting the decorations, getting the house together, being in a festive mood. And then the next minute we're saying, fuck these decorations, fuck this tree, fuck these kids, fuck these stores. I don't want to be bothered. I'm not doing this shit no more. I'm not celebrating Christmas no more. It's too consumeristic. It's too. And so just allow yourself, however you feel about the holiday season, just to feel it, to be present. That's the biggest thing, is sometimes we get into a place where we're not conscious of how we feel and what our body is telling us. And, we get just caught up in the whirlwind of the busyness and the productivity and all that's going on within the season, that we tend to lose ourselves, and we lose our footing, and we lose our grounding. And when we lose those things, that's when the kind of bipolarity kicks in. All of the gamut, of emotions begin to kick in. And we look up, and that time period is gone. We didn't get any rest. We didn't get anything done for ourselves. We didn't do any self-care. And then we're starting off the new year already at a deficit. Okay. And so there are, again, a lot of reasons why we experience these extreme mood swings during the holiday season. And one of those is grief, working through grief. So I'll speak to that. And so the first reason, or the first thing that comes to mind when I think about a lot of the dramas and again, the bipolarity of emotions that we go through during the holiday season, one of the primary reasons why is work related. It's work. And so we find, like, towards the end of the year, that work gets extremely demanding. We're trying to wrap up for the end of the year. We're trying to hit these deadlines. We're trying to hit these goals. If you have vacation planned, then your boss, you need to do this before you go on vacation. So tend to be extremely busy towards the end of the year. At least I know I was when I was in corporate. I mean, working 50, 60-hour work weeks, trying to make deadlines, trying to get things done. Everything is going to shut down. So we got to, and that energy, that vibration, with all that we have going on personally, and trying to prepare for the holidays, or to prepare for Christmas, or to prepare for our new year, or whatever, or however we celebrate it, then, we're putting in these long hours at work. And so, and that's if you're fortunate enough to be able to take some time off. A lot of people are not fortunate enough to be able to take time off during the holidays. Therefore, your workload is doubling or sometimes tripling, because you're taking on all the work of those who are going on vacation, or who are on vacation, like I said, between Thanksgiving and Christmas. That's the time of the year that a lot of people tend to take off. So either, again, you're lucky enough to be able to take off, but you're doing a whole lot of work in preparation just to be off, or you're the person who doesn't have the vacation time or the privilege to be able to take off, and you're doing the work for others. And so then that part, that becomes overwhelming. So that's one of the reasons why we begin to experience a lot of stress and anxiety over the holiday season. The second reason, parents, if you have young children, and even older children, 18 and under, there's this extreme pressure to buy all of these overpriced material gifts for your children. For some reason, throughout the years, our society has begun, and our culture has begun to equate the love we have for our children based upon how much money we gonna spend on Christmas. It's like we're always trying to prove, I love my children this much, and I'm gonna buy this, and I'm gonna buy this, and I'm gonna buy. The excess is out of control. And so that is a lot of stress and anxiety that you place on yourself, where year after year, you got to outdo yourself. Year after year, the kids want the latest technologically advanced game system, and they want this, and they want the Jordans, and so we tend to overspend. And then overspending, some of us are going into debt, which and that causes stress, that causes anxiety. How am I going to pay for Christmas? We're in the middle of a recession, whether we're naming it or calling it that now. Inflation is at an all-time high. And so people are struggling financially. And so you're struggling financially, and then you have all of these expectations of being a super parent, or of pleasing your children, or pleasing people in general, pleasing your social media pages to show how much you've done for your children, or how much you're giving your children. And that shit is stressful. And it creates a lot of anxiety. It creates a lot of anger. It creates a lot of arguing, with your partners in terms of how much you're gonna spend, and then you take that out in the streets. And so you're taking that out in the stores. And so, everybody has this heightened sense, I gotta get this, I gotta buy this, my kids want this, my kids want that. And it creates an extreme amount of stress and anxiety. So the third reason, it's winter season. Even if you're in a warmer climate, this is a season of hibernation, and have not we don't respect the natural cycles of life. We don't expect the natural seasons. And so this is not the time for all of that busyness and all that productivity and doing all that work and doing all that ripping and running. This is a season for hibernation. This is a season for reflection. This is a season for restoration. This is a season for, again, just reflection and allowing our bodies to rest. And so we're pushing, we're doing just the opposite during this time, or during this season. And so we're not respecting the cycles of nature, which makes it even harder. Our bodies are in alignment with nature. And so our bodies are screaming, no, no, I want to go. It's cold out there. I want to go sit by the fireplace. I just want to veg out. I just want to relax. But no, we're out. We're again putting in these hours at work, putting in all these hours, this overtime, so we can have this money, so we can buy this stuff, so we can be in the store, so we can buy the decorations, so we can buy the food, and so all of that is going completely against our natural cycles. And so that creates chaos, it creates anxiety, it creates depression. So that's another reason why we have such extreme mood swings, and deal with seasonal depression and holiday depression during this time. The fourth reason is that the holiday season, it tends to always bring about a certain amount of grief and longing for those who have transitioned. Some of you all may have had loved ones transition this year, or fairly recent, and the holidays just won't feel the same without the physical presence of your loved one. Some of you all who have lost loved ones, every year you begin to feel a little bit of grief, or a little bit of depression, without physically having that person with you, especially if you're a family who has traditions, and this is an ancestor who created the family traditions, or who was an integral part of a lot of your family traditions. You feel there's a sadness, and there's a grief of not having their physical presence there. And so working through that is really important, and you all may be experiencing that as well, as the holiday seasons tends to kind of like hit us hard. when we are missing our loved ones. And the fifth reason why the holiday seasons tend to be difficult for a lot of people is difficult familial relationships. Not everybody has you know happy go lucky family members, and everything is perfect. And a lot of our families, we're still dealing with unhealed family wounds that tend to resurface, or that tend to get triggered when we're around certain family members and during this season. And so, far too often, we force ourselves to be in places and spaces that, because this is family, we have to go, when in actuality, we may not be mentally, physically, or emotionally prepared to be in those spaces. And so tonight, I kind of want to expand further, building upon ways in which we can begin to manage and mitigate, even alleviate some of the holiday seasonal blues that many of us are experiencing between now and the beginning of the year.